What's cracking, people? It's your man Cousin T, aka the Alpha Wingman, representing high-level technicians operating globally and beyond. So listen, today I wanted to continue the series started with the August Alsina case study with the male Octane observations. So unlike the female Octane observations, this is going to be adjusted because obviously you can't compare the two straight down the line. That's because of the dynamic of human nature, and because no matter how media tries to present equality amongst the sexes, men who are desirable are not only subject to physical scrutiny, meaning they need to possess a virility or present a level of vitality, but men are subjected to the burden of performance. And for men, the outcome or production value of our performance tends to bear itself out along the Octane spectrum. Now, there's a lot of data, a lot of statistics, a lot of research that is going into this particular series because a lot of the connections have not been made. Obviously, the Octane scale model, shout out to BGS IBMOR, is a relatively new model for presenting indicators along the socioeconomic expressions within this society. However, it gets more complex when we look at the historical evidence of the path to access to the various Octane levels, particularly for foundational Black American men in modern history. And just to be clear, gentlemen, this is a channel that will always center around what is formerly known as game, aka how man gets woman, what I like to refer to as tech. I mean, let's be clear, we invented game, alright? But every now and again we have to take it to the next level, which is grown man game. And in this case, when we're observing the Octane scale, this is all about the end game. What is the end projection of where you're starting and why you're doing what it is that you do? So with that being said, let's get into today's case study. Now, for the sake of context, I'm going to post this graphic here that breaks down the variations of the 100 Octane male. So in this society, modern Western culture, the three variations for the 100 Octane male are as follows. The baller, which can be considered the pro athlete, usually from ages 18 to 35, average salary ranging from $500,000 to $5 million. Easily the quintessential representation of the looks, money, and status paradigm. Second, you have the entertainer, generally from the ages of 18 to 60. Now keep in mind, the age range that I placed out there is what keeps him in that desirability range, which includes his viability, his virility, on into the exploration of that space. So entertainer, ages between ages 18 and 60 approximately, average salary between $175,000 to $1.5 million. And finally, we have the MTU, or the master of the universe, ages between 35, which coincides with the minimum age to run for president, and 75. Average salary, we call this FU money, which is traditionally between high six figures, I put $750K up to $10 million. So today we're focusing on the case study Nick Cannon. He is in the entertainment world. Sex identifies as male. Height is approximately 6 feet. Weight approximately 190. Of course, identified as a 100 Octane man. Salary range / net worth is about $50 million, according to some sources. The identifiers: high visibility. This is a highly visible personality. He has notable associates, high-profile relationships, and also industry trappings. Now, his environment of operation currently is the world of Hollywood and the mainstream entertainment industry. We'll get back to why that is such a nuanced observation. Skill sets: the projection of his charisma, his stage presence, his business management skills, and his contract negotiation abilities. What he values. Nick Cannon attempts to strike a balance between Aboriginal values and Western culture. Now, what does that mean? Well, even earlier on in Nick Cannon's career, he made attempts at creating a union that he had hoped would be the beginnings of a space for his legacy. That was with Selita Ebanks, and we understand how that went. It was only 6 months. But his second attempt with Mariah Carey was more successful, relatively more successful, in that they successfully got married and they had kids. They have kids that they are, nurturing and teaching and concerned about and are building their legacy upon. Beyond that is a part of our cultural expressions that we refer to as the cipher. Now, there are variations of what a cipher is, but basically it's a wisdom roundtable in which wise men and women take part in sharing knowledge in the circle, and that circle goes around, and the information or knowledge or wisdom that is brought forth is held up to the scrutiny of the community. That is the situation that happened that has brought him currently under fire in the mainstream entertainment industry. And just to be clear, a cipher is not the same thing as a rap battle. A rap battle, that's when you come in with the crazy punchlines. That's when you're getting at somebody's mama's cousins. That's when you really get into the grit. That's when it's a battle sport. There's a difference between rap battles and ciphers. Okay, this cipher that took place between he and Professor Grip bore some information that was undesirable to hear or to receive by certain people who had the power to fire him, which is another discussion for another day. However, because he is attempting to navigate through the space of the Western world, which doesn't necessarily hold up elements, information, or wisdom that is inconvenient or uncomfortable for all of the members of society, certain members of Nick Cannon's group, Black America, expressed their disappointment and disdain for his perceived backpedaling, for apologizing for offending the sensibilities of certain groups. Now, the cipher is another conversation for another day, but just to provide some framing for what the remainder of the Octane presentations or case studies will be for this particular series, let's be clear, we're observing the Octane grades as applicable to the modern foundational Black American man in the United States. Now, in order to do this, we have to present the 360 in terms of what the socioeconomic conditions are, what they historically have been to lead to this particular moment, what desirability means as a group in a society that does not necessarily hold up the same values that we have, and what these observations mean in terms of value and desirability going forward. Now, before I finish this particular observation, I want to present a few other observations that support sort of the framing that I'm attempting to present for the overall vision and value of the modern foundational Black American man. And I'm going to start with a clip from a conversation that Nick Cannon was having with Dr. Joy DeGruy.
One of the things that, and I think at a cursory view, I talk about it in the book, of our value systems. right? African American and Latinx primary value system, and we're talking about value systems over millennia, over thousands of years,
Right.
is the highest value is a relationship between people. The Asian axiology, its member to the group, highest value lies in the group, in the cohesiveness of the group, which is a reason why when you look at large groups of like Chinese or Japanese people, they function as a group. That's a whole nother class in terms of the fact they're not right or wrong. It's just how we are as people, right?
Right.
And then you have the European, the highest value lies in the object or in the acquisition of the object.
So just to be clear and to restate what Dr. DeGroot said, the acquisition of objects is not right or wrong. And in fact, acquiring resources is necessary for a functioning society. It's simply not at our unassimilated core that which we place our highest value upon. Next, I want to play a clip from Dr. T. Hasan Johnson, who is skyrocketing in this space, the manosphere, as of late, and is truly a scholar and a vanguard in terms of the modern masculinist movement. In this clip, he's interviewing Dr. Tim Gordon.
An unnuanced, uncritically accepted notion of patriarchy that, as Dr. Currie points out, wrongly suggests that black men and white men want the same thing.
Absolutely.
And the lack of historical knowledge, the lack of historical nuance with respect to first, second, and third wave feminism has resulted in a certain ease with which black men are already pathologized.
Absolutely.
They're always put in a situation where they become a problem and they thus become incapable of being seen as a victim.
So the last clip I'm going to play comes from yours truly and a post that I presented more than a year ago in terms of the case for Pookie and Ray Ray. I'm going to leave a link to all of these down below, but in the last part of Exhibit C, I wanted to make sure I got this point driven home. And I like to distill the mentalities of the quote-unquote Western world with the ancient world or Eastern world. And it can be summed up in two words. The Western world, or the Western model, is all about consumption. Whereas the ancient world, the Eastern model, is all about communion. Just look at the two largest events in those two scenarios. In the Western world, or mainstream, the largest event of the year is a sales day. It's called Black Friday. It's all about consumption. It's all about sales. The largest events within us in our community, or the ancient or the original communities, is what? The cookouts. So, gentlemen, at the end of the day, the reason why I selected Nick Cannon as a case study for the 100 Octane man is because he embodies the journey of the aware 100 Octane man, and despite being a man with position and status and having a projected net worth of over $50 million, he is still subject to the system as it stands. So going forward, the next case study is going to be the 92 Octane man. So stay tuned for that. And as always, this is your man Cousin T, aka the Alpha Wingman, saying stay sharp and mission focused. Later.